And I am thrilled to have with us on set right now NRA past president and, I'm really excited about getting to say this, the current chairman of the GOP in the state of Delaware, Mr. John Sigler. How are you, sir?
Cam, well, I'm just great. I'm just excited to be here back at the convention after taking a little respite to go back to Delaware to stand for election as Delaware's GOP chair, and now I'm back here with my friends celebrating freedom.
Yes, congratulations. I ran into you last night, I think, right as you got back from Delaware, because the vote was yesterday, right?
The vote was yesterday morning, yes, sir.
Did I read this right? 83% of the voters
it was a close election.
Chose you.
It was a close election.
Yeah, close. Well, congratulations. Now, is this your first media interview since you've received the GOP chairmanship?
It is. You get the privilege of having the first.
Oh boy! All right, I feel like I should throw you a curveball or something. Let me ask you this, John, because I do want to talk some Second Amendment issues. But
sure.
But in your role now as chairman of the GOP in Delaware, what are your priorities?
Well, the job of the chairman of the Republican Party of the state of Delaware is the same as any chairman, and that is it's one job: to elect qualified and responsible and responsive Republicans to office, from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket, and preferably those of integrity and principle. And of course, you know where my love is. My love is with the Constitution, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that Delaware's Republican candidates are constitutionalists and that they are going to defend freedom all the way across the board, including the Second Amendment.
Well, that is fantastic to hear. So what do you think so far about the annual meetings?
Great crowd, great people. You know, I was here before. We were here in, 2006, I believe?
2004.
2004. And it was big then. It was great then. Great people. It's bigger, better. Some of the same people and even more people.
Yeah, no kidding. It's funny. I have my Twitter feed up right now, and I just saw a tweet from one of the gun bloggers out there who said the most adorable quote: "Daddy, where's the Thompson Center booth?" I love that. Now, that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know about what an NRA annual meeting is all about. It's family. It is, firearms. It is freedom. It is just an absolute celebration, I think, of some of the great things about being a U.S. citizen.
It's the all-American event. It's about mom and apple pie, literally, because I think they've got apple pie out there.
And I got to meet someone's mom just a couple minutes ago as well. So
Sure.
Right.
Lots of moms out here, lots of the kids out here, grandmoms, granddads, moms and dads. This is all about family. It's all about fundamental American values, and that's what the NRA is really all about. It's about fundamental American values. It's about freedom. It's about patriotism. It's about who we should be as we follow our founding fathers into the future.
Yeah. All right, so John, let me ask you here another political question as the current chairman of the GOP in Delaware. This is an off-election year for most states. Coming up in the fall, I'll be voting in Virginia for some legislative races, but most states don't have big elections. That's next year. Why should we be paying attention right now?
First of all, we need to be paying attention in all of our jurisdictions because a lot of the legislatures are still in session, and certainly not all of them, but many of them are. We need to be watching what our elected officials are doing. We need to be watching what the people who represent us are saying, doing, what they are. Are they really doing their jobs? Because that really is the issue come Election Day. Politics is a game that most of us don't want to play all the time.
Right.
But it's part of being a citizen, an informed citizen. Our democratic republic is based upon the fundamental concept of an informed citizenry. And we need to be informed now. We need to be active now. Now is the time for people to become involved in next year's campaigns. Find a candidate, especially if it's an incumbent. If you like the person who's representing you in your House, your Senate, either legislature or federally, call their offices and say, hey, I want to volunteer. I want to do what's necessary to get you reelected. If you don't like that person, if that person's not doing what you want them to do, especially if they're not voting right on the Second Amendment issues, then you need to find out from the opposing party, do they have someone ready to go? And if so, how can you help? The other thing is, quite frankly, they need money. But we need money too.
Yeah.
We need money too, because and if you're totally looking at nothing but the Second Amendment issue, which is I suspect a lot of our members do, they follow the NRA's lead, because the Second Amendment issue really does trigger and indicate where a person's going to be on a lot of the other issues. So if that's the way you look at it, NRA, ILA, Political Victory Fund is something that you want to consider if, in fact, you've got some cash on hand that you're willing to put into a race. But really, it's about being informed. It's not just reading the paper or watching Fox News or listening to NRA News or watching the blogs.
Although watching
NRA
NRA News will help.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely help. But it's not all of it. It's about being totally informed about all of the issues.
Yeah.
And it's about being engaged. And being engaged can be writing letters to the editor. Being engaged can be being a volunteer. Being engaged can be nothing more than having that conversation at the dinner table with your kids about what really does this republic stand for? Mm-hmm. Who are we as American citizens? In educating them so that they can become informed voters in the future.
And that is something we should be doing every day. I mean, it doesn't matter how close we are to Election Day.
I have to tell you, I want to interrupt you here. I'm sorry. Our education system in this country is not doing that.
No, it's not.
Our parents need to do that. That's one of the things that the NRA does really well, without getting into partisan politics, but just educating us to the history of this country and what it is that we as citizens have a responsibility, not just the right to do, but a responsibility to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. And you're right. The education system, I live in supposedly one of the better education systems in the country, and yet I look at my son's history books, and I'm kind of appalled. And, we're having to supplement his education. And thankfully, I live in a place where there's a lot of history to teach him. And I'm going up to Boston, Massachusetts to speak at a Gun Owners Action League event in June. And my 10-year-old's coming along with me. And I'm going to take him out to Lexington and Concord, because the last time we were there, we went to Paul Revere's house. And, but we can do these things every day, even if it's just sitting around at dinner and talking about current events, talking about how they relate to the history of this country. But I got to tell you something else, John. When you talk about getting active, last fall, I did something for the first time I've never done before. I went and I knocked on doors the weekend before Election Day. And, most elections I've done enough. I've, written my check. I've, made a few phone calls. I've talked to my friends. I've talked to my neighbors. I put up my yard sign. Last fall, I just decided, no, that's not enough. I want to do, on Election Day, no matter how it turns out, and I hope my guy wins, I want to know that I did everything I could to help freedom prevail. And as it turns out, I was about 800 votes short in my congressional district, but it was very tight.
And if you hadn't done what you'd done, it would have been wider. And when it's a tight election, the person who wins, even though it may not be your candidate, they can and will get the message.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That the people are watching, that the people are going to hold them accountable. And that's really what it's all about, is holding elected officials, both parties. Obviously, I'm partisan on the other side on that one. But on both parties, holding them accountable. Make them live up to their oath of office. Make them do that which they are required to do under the Constitution. Read the bills before they vote on them. Understand what it is that they're voting on, and do the will of the people, not their own will. This isn't about them. It's about us. It's about our democratic republic. And going back to the Ben Franklin quote, where it's alleged, and I assume that it's true, that a woman asked him as he was coming out of the Constitutional Convention, "What hath ye wrought?" And he said, "A republic, if we can keep it." And it is important that we keep it. And the only way that happens is, 1, we're engaged, 2, we're informed, and 3, that we do our jobs as parents and grandparents and friends and neighbors and, yes, activists, to make sure that other voters, and especially the next generation of voters, are prepared to exercise the right but more importantly, exercise their responsibility to be informed voters.
Well, and you just hit on the key, I think. A republic, if we can keep it.
Yes.
And it's up to us. It's our job. It's our job as voters. It's our job as parents. It's our job as grandparents, as sons and daughters. But it's our job to ensure that the republic that we leave to that next generation is strong or as stronger than it was when we got it.
The legacy, if you will, it may be grandpa's shotgun, it may be grandma's rings and jewelry, it may be the farm, it may be whatever, but none of that means anything if it isn't the freedom that was handed down to us, and if it isn't the republic that they have wrought for us. And they understood what it was about.
Yeah.
We have it far too good here in many cases because we take for granted that which others have fought and died for. And, it's not just the troops today, it's what happened 200 and some years ago.
That's right.
And all up through our history. And it is for the troops today because they're doing what they're doing for our benefit so that they and their families and their offspring can be free and can be the responsible citizens who will vote, who will be active, and who will educate. Because God knows our school systems, as a general rule, are not doing that. What you're doing, I think that's great. We have all these national parks. We have all these battlefields. We have all these museums. We have the NRA's programs. Let's use them.
Amen.
Let's educate the next generation.
Amen. John Sigler, NRA past president and the current and brand new chairman of the GOP in the state of Delaware. John, thank you again, sir. It's always a great time seeing you.
And I see you've got an NRA hat.
Yes, sir. Friends of the NRA right here.
Absolutely.
And John, thank you. I know we'll be talking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Cam.